Imagine, if you will, a man standing by the riverbank. The water flows gently, undisturbed by the pebbles below, the current steady and unwavering. The man, however, stands still, waiting, hoping for the river to bend to his will, to change its course. He desires the river to flow toward him, yet it continues on its path, oblivious to his wishes. This man, dear listener, is much like those who seek love, but misunderstand its nature. Love, like the river, cannot be coerced, forced, or bent to one's desires. It flows naturally, unconcerned with the whims of those who stand on its banks. To attract love, one must not demand it, but rather align oneself with its course, understanding its nature and flowing with it. This, my friends, is where the wisdom of Stoicism reveals its power. 1. The nature of love and desire. Love is not something you can capture or hold on to, just as you cannot hold water in your hands for long before it slips away. The more you grasp at it, the quicker it eludes you. This truth is mirrored in the teachings of the Stoics, who understood that love, like all things external to us, is not within our control. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control: our thoughts, our actions, our character. Love is a gift from the universe, not something to be seized or hoarded. Instead, we must cultivate the qualities within ourselves that align with the flow of love: patience, virtue, understanding. Consider the example of a garden. A gardener does not force a flower to bloom. Rather, they tend to the soil, water the plants, and provide the necessary conditions for growth. Love, too, requires the right conditions we can cultivate within ourselves. When we focus on becoming better individuals, on nurturing our own virtues, love is drawn to us naturally like bees to a fragrant flower. 2. The art of self-reflection. In the quest to attract love, one must first turn inward. The Stoics were masters of self-reflection, understanding that true change comes from within. Before seeking love from another, ask yourself, are you the type of person you would want to love? Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself to be worthy of the positions and relationships he held. He understood that the quality of our relationships is a reflection of our inner state. If we are insecure, needy, or dishonest, we will attract relationships that mirror these traits. Conversely, if we cultivate virtues like honesty, kindness, and self-respect, we will attract love that is genuine and fulfilling. Take a moment, dear listener, to reflect on your own life. Are there areas where you are not living up to the standards you hold for yourself? Do you seek love out of a place of insecurity or fear? The Stoics teach us that love must come from a place of strength, not weakness. When you are secure in who you are, when you understand your own worth, you will find that love is drawn to you effortlessly. Section 3. The power of detachment. One of the most profound Stoic principles is the concept of detachment. The Stoics taught that we should not become overly attached to things outside our control. This includes the affection of others. Imagine a bird perched on your hand. If you close your hand, attempting to hold on to the bird, it will struggle, desperate to be free. But if you keep your hand open, allowing the bird to come and go as it pleases, it may choose to stay. Love, too, must be approached with an open hand. When we cling too tightly to the idea of love, we become desperate, fearful of losing it. This fear often drives love away, as no one wishes to be caged or controlled. Instead, the Stoics advise us to practice detachment, to love fully, but without possession. To illustrate this, let us consider the relationship between Seneca and his wife Paulina. Seneca, a man deeply committed to Stoic philosophy, loved Paulina dearly, yet he never sought to possess her. He understood that true love is not about ownership, but about mutual respect and freedom. Seneca's detachment allowed him to love Paulina more deeply, without fear or anxiety, for he knew that their love was not something to be controlled, but something to be cherished in its natural state. Section 4. acceptance and patience. The Stoics also teach us the importance of acceptance and patience. Love does not always come when we want it, nor does it always come in the form we expect. Sometimes the universe has different plans for us, and we must learn to trust in the timing of our lives. Consider the story of the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus. He was exiled from Rome, separated from his family and friends, yet he did not despair. Instead, he accepted his fate with grace and patience, understanding that his exile was not within his control, but his reaction to it was. In matters of love, we must adopt a similar mindset. If love has not yet come into your life, do not despair or force it. Instead, focus on living a life of virtue and purpose. Trust that when the time is right, love will find you, and it will be all the more rewarding for having waited patiently. 5. The virtue of generosity. Generosity, in the Stoic sense, is not merely about giving material gifts, but about giving of yourself, your time, your attention, your compassion. The Stoics believed that to attract love, one must first be willing to give it freely, without expectation of return. Consider the example of Marcus Aurelius, who, despite being an emperor, never hesitated to show kindness and generosity to those around him. He understood that true strength lies in giving, not taking. When you approach love with a generous spirit, you create an environment where love can thrive. Ask yourself, how can you be more generous in your relationships? Can you listen more attentively, show more kindness, offer your time and energy without expecting anything in return? When you give love freely, it often returns to you in ways you least expect. 6. The wisdom of silence. Silence is a powerful tool in the Stoic arsenal. In a world where everyone is eager to speak, to express their opinions, the Stoics valued the wisdom of silence. They understood that silence allows us to listen, to observe, and to understand the world around us more deeply. In relationships, silence can be a form of love. It allows us to truly listen to our partners, to understand their needs and desires without the interference of our own ego. It also teaches us to be comfortable with stillness, to appreciate the quiet moments that are often the most meaningful. Consider the example of Epictetus, who was known for his measured words and thoughtful silence. He understood that not every situation requires a response, and that sometimes the best way to show love is to simply be present, without the need for words. 7. The role of courage. Finally, we must speak of courage. To attract love, one must be brave, willing to take risks and face the possibility of rejection. The Stoics were no strangers to courage, as they faced adversity with unwavering resolve. In love, courage means being vulnerable, opening your heart even when you fear it might be broken. It means being honest about your feelings, even when it's difficult. The Stoics teach us that true courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. Consider the story of Cato the Younger, a Stoic known for his moral integrity and courage. Cato was unafraid to stand alone in his convictions, even when it cost him his life. In love, we must channel this same courage, understanding that while rejection is painful, it is better to be true to ourselves than to live in fear. To conclusion, to attract love, one must embody the virtues of a Stoic: self-reflection, detachment, acceptance, generosity, silence, and courage. These qualities not only make us better individuals, but also create the conditions for love to flourish naturally in our lives. Remember, love is not something to be pursued or captured, but something that flows to those who are aligned with its nature. By living a life of virtue, by becoming the kind of person worthy of love, you will find that love is drawn to you, effortlessly and naturally. So, stand by the riverbank of life, not as one who demands the river to change its course, but as one who understands its flow. Tend to your inner garden, cultivate your virtues, and trust that love, like the river, will come to you when the time is right.